And we are going to go through the formulas again. Remember, as soon as you get your sheet of paper, the first thing you should do is write down your formulas. Take the next 30 seconds, pause the tape, and get them knocked out. Okay, today we're going to do something that is a review from 6th grade. It's been a while since a lot of you guys have seen this, and what we're going to be working with is box and whisker plots. Now, you're not going to be having to make any of them in 7th grade, but you do have to know the important parts. So pause the tape and see if you can't match up the keywords to where they belong on the page. All right, when you're dealing with box and whisker plots, there are some important points. There are 5 data points that are shown. The minimum represents the smallest number, and the maximum represents the largest number. Those are fairly simple to understand. The minimum is going to be the last little dot. The maximum is going to be the furthest dot to the right. Those represent the best or highest and lowest scores. The median is the line down the middle of the box. The median is shown right here, and that represents the exact middle of the data. Half of the data is less than the median, half of the data is greater than the median. Quartile 1 or Q1 and quartile 3 or Q3 make up the different parts of the box, and we will talk about what those mean on the next few slides. Okay, this needs to get copied down onto your note sheet. Box and whisker plots. They display data. Each part of the graph represents 25% of the data, regardless of how stretched out it looks. So each little section of the graph contains 25% of the data. How long each section is irrelevant. So 25% of the data is between 26 and 35. 25% of the data is between 35 and 57. 25% of the data is between 57 and 73, and 25% of the data is between 73 and 80. So in this graph, we're talking about the average monthly temperatures. So half of the temperatures are more than 57 degrees, and half of the temperatures are less than 57 degrees. And with box and whisker plots, we don't know how many temperatures are included in this data. We don't know that information. Things we know: the lowest is 26, the highest is 80. We know the median or middle temperature was 57, which means we know half of the data is less than 57 and half of the data is greater than 57. We also know, if we want to base things off quartile 3 off 73, that 25% one piece of the data is greater than 73 degrees, and 3 pieces, so 75% of the data is less than 73 degrees. Okay, pause the tape, answer these questions on your sheet. Okay, what is the lowest or minimum temperature shown? That is 26. 26 degrees is the lowest, and the highest temperature is 80 degrees. The median of the data, if you go back to the notes, the median is the line that comes down the box, and the median temperature in this specific graph is 57 degrees. That's the median. What percent of the data is between 26 and 35? We're talking about this piece of data right here, and that's 25% of that data. And then the last question says, what percent of the monthly temperatures were greater than 35? Well, here's 35. 1 full piece, 2, 3 pieces were greater than 35, so 75% of the data is greater than 35. Okay, on your own, pause the tape, answer these questions now. Number 1, what percent of the scores were greater than 72? Well, 1, 2, 3 pieces, so 75% of the data of the test scores are higher or greater than 72. Second question says, what percent were less than 88? Well, here's 88, which is the median, and there's 1, 2 sections there, so 50% of the data is less than 88. What percent of the scores were between 96 and 72? That's the box right here. 25 and 25 means half of the data falls in there. And then what is the difference between the middle 50%? That's interquartile range. and that is the difference between 96 and 72. When you subtract those, and you get 24. Okay, last slide here. Go ahead and pause the tape, get this figured out. Okay, so when we take a look at this, we have two graphs we're analyzing here. The easiest way to do that is to fill in the information for both the boys and girls, and then we can answer the questions. So when I look at the boys, the minimum number of CDs owned by the boys is 3. The maximum owned by the boys, I'm going to estimate and call that 31. The median number of CDs owned by boys is 18. Quartile 1 owned by the boys, I'm going to call that 5. Quartile 3, 26. And the interquartile range is the difference between Q3 and Q1, which is 21. When I go over to the girls, the minimum number of CDs owned by the girls is also 3. The maximum CDs owned by the girls is 36. The median for the girls is 15. You may say 14. It's close. Quartile 1 is 6. Quartile 3 is 24. So an interquartile range of 18. So the difference in the maximum number of CDs, well, once I have the maximum for both of them, boys is 31, girls is 36, it's obvious that that's a maximum of 5. But me taking the time to do this work has made it possible to answer these questions very easily. How much greater is the boys' median than the girls'? The boys' median is 18, the girls' median is 15. It's a difference of 3. Which of the following has a greater interquartile range? Well, boys' interquartile range is 21, girls is 18, the boys is more by 3. And which of the data is more spaced out or spread out? That's just kind of a visual thing, and you can see that the girls have a much wider difference in the number of CDs owned than the boys. All right, the bit.ly/box plot review, all caps.